Today we are doing a training session for our forensic science class on audits and violations of audits. First of all, we need to understand some of the terminology used. Quality assurance and quality control play a vital role in the forensic science lab. According to an article by Chowberry in 2021, quality assurance describes general measures used to safeguard the quality of its operations and the reliability of reported results. Also, according to Chowberry, quality control, on the other hand, relates to operational techniques and activities employed to fulfill the requirements of quality. I like to use the analogy of a bakery. Quality assurance is the big picture stuff at the bakery. Writing recipes so flour ratios stay consistent. Teaching the bakers not to just eyeball how much yeast to put in their mix, but to actually measure it. Auditing ovens weekly to make sure they maintain their 350-degree temperature. Bakery quality control, on the other hand, is spotting a burned loaf of bread when it comes out of the oven and taking that and getting rid of it, not letting it go out to the customer. Or tasting one roll out of a batch of rolls and saying, nope, this one is too dense, and then getting rid of the whole batch. QA prevents messes up front, and quality control catches them before the customers do. While still on our bakery analogy, I'd like to mention quality management. In a bakery, that's like the boss that does everything. He oversees tracking complaints, tweaking the recipes from time to time, and making sure the whole shop stays profitable. Now we're going to talk about the auditing process. The first thing that you should know before going through an audit is to make sure you really want to be accredited. It's expensive, it's time consuming, and it's hard work for everyone involved. So make sure it's what you really want to do before you just jump in there and go for it. But once you've decided you want to go on for get accreditation, there are some steps that you need to take. And I'm going to use Doyle's 2018 book to go through those steps with you. First of all is the pre-application preparation. Once you've decided to go through with the audit, you want to select a project manager from your group of employees. A lot of times that will be the competent quality manager at your lab. And if that quality manager is competent, does a good job, that's exactly the person you want for your project manager. You will then decide which set of standards do you want to be accredited under. If your lab does mostly qualitative chemistry, then you want to be audited and accredited under ISO/IEC 17025. However, if your lab does a lot of crime scene examination and measurements comparing footprints or fingerprints, then you want to be under ISO/IEC 17020. The QMS should be documented in accordance with the standard that the lab has for the standard you're getting accredited under. You want to document what needs to be done and make sure that everyone does what's documented. This gets you prepared and ready for your accreditation process. Everyone needs to be doing what you documented, and you need to have documented it well. The next step in the process is application. You fill out an application which asks you for information, and then you pay a non-refundable fee. If the committee decides that you are ready to go through accreditation, then they will approve your form that you filled out, and a contract will be drawn up. The laboratory has the choice to either accept or reject that contract. But remember, once you've paid your non-refundable fee, you're not getting it back. So the next step is a pre-assessment visit. This is an optional step and of course costs more money to have done. But it does get you ready for your audit and avoids delays. The visit is to determine how ready the organization is for accrediting. It can involve just sitting down and going over policies and documents to see how well what you're documenting adheres to what your policies are. It can involve looking through the lab and seeing how people do their testing and what methods they're using and making sure they follow your policies. So they can then let you know if there are any remedial steps you need to take to be ready for your accreditation visit. The next thing is a conformity assessment. This is conducted by a lead assessor. The auditing body will provide a report either during the assessment or shortly after the assessment. And the report will identify any ideas that are lacking or that need fixing because they're against accreditation standards. If remedial actions are necessary, you are given time to come up with a plan to make those remedial actions and a time period to actually make the remedial actions. You usually get 3 weeks to make the remedial actions, so your time is short. You have to work fast. Next step is accreditation. When your actions are cleared, the assessment manager will submit a recommendation that you be accredited. The governing body will then determine and make a decision as to whether you are able to be accredited, and you will get your accreditation certificate. Recertification. Recertification happens every 2 to 4 years. It can range from someone coming in and just sitting down and looking at your policies and your documentation to going in and looking at your personnel and how they're doing their testing. It can go from a prearranged visit to a surprise visit. So you need to take your accreditation and the rules that apply to it very seriously. This recertification, if you pass again, it then is good for another 2 to 4 years. Now, violations. Violations of the accreditation process do occur. One that occurred that was disastrous was in the District of Columbia, Department of Forensic Science, otherwise known as the DFS. They built a $2 million forensic lab in 2012 to analyze forensic DNA, firearm, and fingerprint evidence for law enforcement entities in the DC metro area. However, according to the person who wrote the article I read, Bastian in 2021, he indicated 2 audits were conducted in 2015 and revealed that DFS's DNA analysis procedures were inadequate. Due to the numerous mistakes that were made, their accreditation was lost. This accreditation mistake called into question approximately 200 cases due to the questions about the validity of the DNA testing. After this 2015 audit, according to Bastian, the director of the lab resigned, the chief scientist and senior manager for the testing of DNA were both fired. A new person took over named Jennifer Smith. She rewrote all the policies that were problematic and the procedures. This allowed the lab again to meet the necessary requirements for accreditation in 2018. This didn't last long though. In October 2019, the U.S. Justice Department was asking DFS to hand over documents related to firearm evidence analysis policies, and DFS was refusing to turn over these documents. Then in January 2020, the FBI started asking for documentation of firearm analysis. They thought that what was happening was that the lab was falsely certifying evidence analysis records, that the firearm testing was done both by the original tester and then a colleague. Instead, only one person was doing it and forging the other person's signature. Again, the accreditation was lost. And as of the writing of his article in 2021, Bastian indicated that there is no public knowledge out there as to whether the lab will ever get its accreditation back, whether it will open again, or what will happen to it. So that's a lesson that when you get accreditation, you want to keep accreditation, you want to treat it seriously, and you want to follow the procedures. Thank you for your attention to this training video.